Guys, I'm just watching Vampire Diaries and I think Elena is the real villain. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kachi Ofia and I'm a culture journalist. If we're just meeting for the first time, thank you so much for watching. And if we're not meeting for the first time, hafa. Anyway, see, in my last video, I said I was going to talk about the murder of Tupac Shakur, how it relates to Diddy, why we're talking about it in 2024, because it happened 27 years ago. Here's everything you need to know about what is happening today, about the murder of our beloved Tupac, and why Diddy's name is being mentioned inside the situation. All right, let me get a drink though, because I feel like we need to unpack this together. I'll be back. Hi, I'm Kachi Ofia, and you are welcome to the community. Let's talk about this. You should get a drink as well, because there's a lot to unpack here. So, it all started in the year 1996. Tupac Shakur was going to a game at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas, right? And he was there with his guys. He was there with Suge Knight. You know, he was there with a couple of other people that were on his team. Trayvon, let's just call him Trey. All right, if you can Google everything I'm saying. Don't worry, you find it on Google. And then before this game, right, a bunch of guys from the South Side Crips, right, they had attacked Trey. And one of the people who attacked Trey's name was Orlando Anderson. I need you to remember that name, Orlando Anderson. So they were at this MGM Grand Arena, and then Trey now spotted Orlando like just somewhere there. And he was like, you know this guy that came to beat me up the other day? I'll show you Pepe. He now goes to go tell Tupac, like, yo guys, see, that yeah guy, Orlando, is, by the way, if you're watching from like anywhere else in the world, yeah means like, we don't rate you, like we don't care for you. Orlando is out there, and this is the guy that jumped me. So Tupac being Tupac and Suge Knight, and he walks up to him and is like, yo, are you Orlando? And he just pow, punches him in the face. And then, you know, everybody, fight just started. And it was only Orlando, because, you know, these guys are in gangs. So Orlando wasn't with his guys, he wasn't with his crew, but you see Trey's, you know, people, they were there. So they all started beating Orlando. So it was 1 to 10 maybe. But that's beside the point. Let's get back to business. So they did what they had to do. Tupac left the MGM Grand Arena. His bodyguard was in a car behind him. Tupac was in the same car with Suge Knight. But what they didn't know is that Orlando had gone back to tell his own crew, who included other people, including Keefe D Davis, his uncle, who was a gang leader, Oga Patapata de Capone, of their own group. That CEO, Tupac just beats me up. Tupac just beats me up. Anyway, so Tupac, you know, goes to see his girlfriend because we're going to go to a club to go perform. And he's like, babe, listen, just, you know, wait for me. I'm going to be right back. He gets into the car with Suge Knight. His bodyguard is in a car behind, and then they're driving on the road. Now, as you all know the story, you know, Tupac, they park at a traffic stop. A car pulls up beside them and pow, 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 shot 4 times, 1 in the chest, 1 in his arm, and 2 in his lungs. No, 2 in his chest, 1 in his arm, and 1 on his leg. That's how, I believe that's how Tupac, you know, was shot. So the point of me breaking this down is because Tupac died of respiratory failure. As a matter of fact, he was in the hospital for 6 good days, and then he had a cardiac arrest. Now, his mom, Afeni Shakur, made the decision to cease medical treatment.
I don't think it's up to anybody to decide whether someone should live in an altered state. That for someone to say, he won't be himself, let him go. I wasn't at the hospital that time. Yeah, I don't think I would have said that. Okay, and I am not trying to say, you know, that that's what the case, that he might still have died. But I don't think I would ever have said, let him go. There's no fucking way I would have said that. No fucking way. I'd have taken that motherfucker with half an arm, half a lung. He still would have been Tupac. He still would have been Tupac.
Now, if that was in Nigeria, the woman would say, please do everything you can to save my son, because what God cannot do does not exist. But Afeni was like, yeah, you know what? You know, it's all right. Just stop fighting. And that is how Tupac now died. Even before Tupac died, he was trying to stand up because, he was so agitated. They took out his right lung. So he was really, really struggling. Keep in mind that this is not the first time Tupac had been shot. Tupac had been shot like almost 2 years before this particular incident. And that was what made Tupac release that fire song, Hit 'Em Up. I don't know if you've heard the song before, but if you haven't, I'm gonna just put the lyrics, like a bunch of lyrics on the screen right now. So you see that song, Hit 'Em Up, as much as it is a jam, it is a very, 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 very direct message to East Coast rappers. Now, let's talk about East Coast, West Coast. Just a side note. East Coast rappers are the Bad Boy record people, owned by P. Diddy, and of course, the biggest artist on that record was Notorious B.I.G. Now, their biggest rival were the West Coast rappers. There you have Suge Knight, Death Row Records, and then you have Tupac Shakur. Remember all these 4 people, because they're gonna come into play. So back to the story, Tupac has died. And then you would think that, you know what, this is the biggest star right now. The police are gonna jump on the situation, but no. I remember the man's name, Sergeant Kevin Manning, was the person in charge of the Tupac case. And, there was a report that was put out by the LA Times in 2002. The man's name is Chuck Phillips, if I'm not wrong. And he said if he's gonna fault the police at the time, there were so many leads as to how they could find, the person that killed Tupac as at that time. But they didn't follow any of those leads. They were just like, yeah, whatever. But then again, we also have to remember the fact that at that time, these men, including Suge Knight, were not cooperating with the police. So it is recorded that Tupac told the police officer that asked him who shot him, F you. I'm not gonna say the word, but he said, you know what, F you. And this makes sense because at the time, these men and these gangs were not good on the police. So it doesn't matter if you kill me, I'm not gonna snitch on you to the police. We can fix it amongst ourselves, but we're not telling the police what happened. We're not giving them that power. That's how, I don't know how like the street code worked then, but that was like street code on a whole other level. Like, yo, you guys just killed Tupac. But nobody was talking about anything, and anyone who was going to was killed, which is why Trey was equally killed just before he was about to talk to the police about what happened. So they kept trying to find out what happened. Suge Knight wasn't willing to cooperate. Orlando Anderson was arrested at some point in time, but they let him off because they couldn't find anything on him. Now, let's fast forward to 27 years after Tupac died. In 2023, there was a raid on the home of the wife of Keefe D. Davis. Now, at the time, I really hadn't heard of Keefe D's name before. Like, I had no idea who this man was. But guess what? 5 years ago, this man was talking about how he killed Tupac. Take a look.
I ain't gonna go into details like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you got it in a book. You done played it, everything else, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, in the book, you said that as you're driving up towards the BMW, with Suge driving and Tupac in the passenger seat, and you said that Tupac pulled out a gun.
It looked like he was reaching, yeah. Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you actually see a gun?
No, shit. Once he got the reaching, I got the ducking.
So someone from your car
That's what happened.
started shooting at Tupac and Suge.
Lane starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you.
Yeah.
He looks right at you.
Yeah, he looked at me.
Okay. When he looks over at you, and then Tupac's busy getting shot. Evidently, the story is Tupac's trying to either get out
In
of
the
line.
back seat or something.
Yeah. What do you see happening inside of their
Jumping
car?
in. I seen a bullet going Suge's head. I thought he was dead.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window. We rolled down the window, popped.
Who was it?
They was drove on my side. I was popped them. You know what I'm saying? But they was on the other side.
Right.
I'm not gonna go into details on that one. Keep it streets on me.
So now you've seen that video. If this man had been, see, Keefe D Davis has cancer. He's been talking, he's wrote a book, he's done interviews, he's been talking about how he killed Tupac for years. So how is it possible that it is only now that they arrest him? If you ask me, there was always knowledge on how exactly Tupac died. But it's the same thing we do in the industry, cherry picking. We pick and choose when it's most convenient to address an issue. And how convenient that a couple of months after we're talking about Tupac's death and Keefe D mentions Diddy's name, Diddy's also arrested. Anyway, so Keefe D was arrested. He was charged with first-degree murder. Now, to put things in context, Keefe D did not fire the weapon that killed Tupac Shakur, but there were 4 people in the car when Tupac died. There was Keefe D Davis, who was sitting in the front. There was, someone, I don't remember his name, he was driving the car. There was Orlando Anderson, that is Keefe D's nephew. And then there was a guy they called Big Dre. Now, apparently, Orlando was sitting beside Big Dre and he couldn't go over Big Dre to fire the shot. According to Keefe D, Big Dre made the shot that killed Tupac. And as soon as they did that, they zoomed off. But guess what? They're all dead now. Big Dre's dead. Orlando Anderson is equally dead. He was killed in a random shooting and the driver is also dead. The only person that's alive is Keefe D Davis. But again, Keefe D Davis had confessed on camera to killing Tupac Shakur, but only now is he being arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Okay, he seems quite comfortable being arrested, He seems very, very comfortable in prison. He's like, you know what, I'm ready to tell all. So what else does he tell the police? He tells the police that, on a side note though, Diddy gave him $1 million to off Tupac Shakur. Now, ever since he said this, right, there's been no follow-up to that conversation. But because Diddy is arrested now, Diddy is in prison, there's a lawyer that has been hired to basically investigate that claim. They have actually hired a lawyer to investigate whether or not Diddy was involved in Tupac's killing. Suge Knight, who is currently in prison on a separate issue, said he doesn't want to have anything to do with this. He's washing his hands, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be involved in it. But here's what I would say. I think it's such a momentous time that we are in, that we are going to possibly see the trial of Tupac Shakur, the murder trial of Tupac Shakur and Diddy's trial happen at the same time. Because I don't know if they're linked, but I feel like with Tupac, this case could have happened aeons ago. There was all the information out there. There was everything that they needed to have nailed this case, but for some reason, it never happened. So that's what's going on right now. That's where we are. It's insane if you ask me, because in all of this, I see a lot of people making videos about how, let's talk about how Diddy did this to this person and how this victim came out to talk about this. And I applaud the victims, don't get me wrong, I do. But here's my thinking, right? This is Hollywood. This is the entertainment industry. Don't ever for 1 second think that anybody is better than the next. That's where you're wrong. The only thing that makes one person different from the next is information that is made available to you. So when you find that information is made so available to you, so easy and so accessible, be careful how you chug it in. Be careful how you get all sentimental about it. Because after Diddy, there's going to be somebody doing something worse that you will never, ever, ever know. So as opposed to, getting all sensationalized with all the news we've been hearing, let's take it in. Let's have a little bit of sympathy as well for the people who have had to endure these things. But let's also look at the bigger picture as to why all of this is happening now, as to why we've had Bill Cosby, and then we've had R. Kelly, and then we're having Diddy, and now we're about to have Chris Brown, about why it is okay for a person to be maimed off the back of a documentary. Everybody should get an equal trial in court. Why was Diddy denied bail? Why wasn't he allowed to go home up until his trial was about to begin? Because as of today, yes, Diddy is being charged. He has official indictments, but he still gets to prove his say. Now, that is the journalist in me talking. The real me feels like Diddy is going to off anyone who's going to try to mess him up. That's probably why he is being held in prison. But looking at it on a surface level, there's a whole bigger picture. And Diddy might be guilty today, but tomorrow we are being trained to just take information and own it. Diddy might be guilty today, but tomorrow it will be somebody who is not. And off the back of social media claims and documentaries that Dane Does and John Does are putting out there, we're gonna maim somebody that absolutely does not deserve it. I personally thought that the case of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard would have taught us something. We maimed Johnny Depp off what we read in a post. Johnny Depp was cleared of those allegations. So if we haven't learned anything from that, then we're really not ready to start having these real conversations. But you know what? I'm just gonna keep watching and observing. If you didn't get anything from this video, just get this. One, this whole murder of Tupac Shakur is just ceremony, because that case had been done. I mean, Keefe D was not a discovery. He outed himself on YouTube. Two, Diddy may or may not have been involved in it. He may not, or he may have given the order. But we also need to talk about Notorious B.I.G. though, because if we're gonna deal with that issue, then we might as well just deal with everybody else's as well at the same time. I'm not really, I don't think it's gonna be such a shocker to find out that Diddy was involved in it, but I also don't think that's the issue here. So let's focus on what those issues are, and let's wait for the trial. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. My name is Kachi Ofia, and this is Kachi Live.
Hi, I'm Kachi Ofia, and you are welcome to the community.